We are, in this episode, going to talk about the most hottest, fieriest takes.
So, Emily, I feel like you managed to find not only the most fired take of the year, but possibly the most fired take of the decade. A reply tweet that Elon replied to Ray Dalio.
I think what it is a way of justifying not giving any money to charity.
Looks maxing is heavily a teenage boy trend.
From Mar-a-Lago face to Silicon Valley, to Jeff Bezos to Kristi Noem, they're all doing crazy to their face now.
Everyone who said that tariffs were going to be the end of the world was wrong, and it turns out that they didn't actually matter nearly as much as people thought they did.
I think it depends on what your baseline is as to whether this is a bad take or a good take.
If the European project goes the way of the Ottoman Empire, then that spells doom for the planet.
Someone with British accent thinks Europe is the most important story of the year. I don't know.
On a spiciness level, this one goes to 11.
Hot takes.
Hot takes.
Hot takes.
Hello, folks, and welcome to Slate Money, your guide to the business and finance news of the week. I'm Felix Salmon of Bloomberg. I'm here with Elizabeth Spiers of the New York Times and Emily Peck of Axios with a special episode of Slate Money devoted to
Hot takes.
Hot takes.
Hot takes.
This episode is going to fly off the shelves like hot takes. Anyway, we are going to have a whole episode this week devoted to the spiciest takes of 2025. It was a year full of pretty hot takes. I have managed to wander around the Bloomberg newsroom and find some people here with some spicy takes. We also have a Slate Plus segment with Elizabeth Spiers talking about the thing that set us all off on this path, which was this idea that $140,000 is the new poverty line. It's all coming up on Slate Money. So, Emily, I feel like you, in your research for this episode, managed to find not only the most fired take of the year, but possibly the most fired take of the decade in like a reply tweet that Elon replied to Ray Dalio.
Yeah, So we are, in this episode, going to talk about the most hottest, fieriest takes, things that defy the conventional wisdom that all got us all heated this year. And right before we were coming in to tape, the day before, Ray Dalio made news because he and his wife donated to the Trump accounts, which we've talked about before. I think it's $250 per kid in his state of Connecticut. So he tweeted about this, and Elon Musk replied, I'll just quote Elon Musk, as we are wont to do all the time on this podcast. He said, "It is certainly a nice gesture of the Dells," and then hold for hot take. "But there will be no poverty in the future, and so no need to save money. There will be universal high income." And Felix said this was the hottest take of the year. So Felix, explain.
Okay, so like on a spiciness level, I feel like this has to be like 11. This one goes to 11. On a truthiness level, 0. I mean, like none of this,
-1, just to round it out.
none of this makes any sense. But what Elon is doing here is kind of interesting. Is that he, is obviously all in on his crazy utopia AI singularity stuff, and he's kind of assuming exactly what the Dells and the Dalios and even the Trumps are doing, right? Which he's kind of assuming that all of this wealth that gets generated in this brave new world by private companies like OpenAI and XAI and Anthropic and all the rest of it will become universalized and get turned into income for everyone. It will be universal. That you can be, a starving kid in Kenya and you will just get a high income because reasons. And this is like an incredibly socialist concept of redistribution, which is exactly the kind of thing that Elon doesn't like.
I think it's more trickle down economics though, right?
Well, no, because he's saying income, because like the whole point of like super intelligence is that all of the robots will be able to do things that we so much better than us that we won't need to work. We will all be out of work because there will always be, whatever we do, a robot can do it better. So it's not like we're going to be paid for working. So if we're not being paid for working, we need to be paid for just existing and being human. And that's not really income.
But he's insinuating that this would be coming from the private sector, not the government.
But what incentive would the private sector have to do that? None of this makes any sense to me, but it is very Elon.
I think what it is a way of justifying not giving any money to charity. If you can say, don't worry about it, no one needs any money in the future anyway, it's totally fine. No one's going to be poor. Poverty is not an issue. I'm the world's richest man, and that's totally fine too. And I don't have to give away any money because there's really no poverty issue at all, because the poverty line should be 0 or something. We can talk about that in the plus.
Also, it is a long and storied Silicon Valley tradition to argue that anytime a big disruptive technology comes along, that no one should be worried about it because it means that we'll work less and we'll have more resources. And then it never turns out to be true. But it does make people like Elon much, much wealthier. So.
It is the common narrative of capitalism, like dating back to Adam Smith. And actually it joins Adam Smith and Karl Marx can join together in this because they both envision a future where people are somehow working less because something, capitalism, something, which so far has not been proved correct.
Emily, where would you rate this one on spiciness and truthiness?
I mean, I'll give him a spicy 7 because as Elizabeth and I showed, this is an old take, like maybe warmed over, typical kind of thing. And on truthiness, I will give it a 5.
Oh, man. I would say it's both spicier and way lower on truthiness just because all of history tells us that this has not happened when we've had big technological revolutions. So I would say truthiness, giving it the sort of possibility discount that technically anything can happen, I'd give it like a 1.5. And then spiciness, a 9.
Okay, let's go around the Bloomberg newsroom since I'm here in Bloomberg right now. And what do we find?
My hottest take of the year is that everyone in New York City, including young people, including radical young people, are going to start wearing suits again because this is the Zoran Mamdani era, and he is encouraging people to step up their game aesthetically.
That, of course, is friend of the pod, Joe Weisenthal, host of the Odd Lots podcast. Emily, what do you make of this one?
Spicy 8. I like it. It's unusual. No, yeah. Wait. 9. I give it a spicy 9.
Spicy 9.
It's very out of left field. And truthy, I'm going 1. No one is going to suits. It's absolutely not happening. The ship has sailed so hard on that. Everyone is in sweatpants all the time now.
I would say, having worked with a bunch of DSA people, they are nattier dressers than you would think, but I don't think that this is going to make them make additional effort.
So
I would say spiciness, 7, truthiness, 3.
I really like it, I have to say. I think it's a fire take. I'll give it like an 8. Aspirationally, I'm down with it. And I do think that the days of hoodies and flip-flops running the world from Silicon Valley are over. So I'm going to give it a slightly higher, 4, not because I think people that Gen Z is suddenly going to start wearing suits and ties, but because they are going to care more about how they look, which brings me to Tracy Alloway, which we need to run the tape on, Joe's co-host here.
I think in the age of AI, as knowledge becomes more commodified, looks maxing is going to become more and more important and more popular. And we're already seeing in places like San Francisco, lots of people using things like peptides. Everyone has their own Chinese peptide dealer to lose weight or have better skin or get more sleep or whatever. I think that's going to become more important.
What's a peptide dealer?
So Ozempic is a form of peptide, and there's a whole bunch of Chinese companies that are illegally importing various different peptides. You can have the 5 peptides and the 7 peptides and whatnot, and the Californians are injecting them because not just to lose weight but to do all manner of things and to make them live forever. It's all part of the don't die weird cultiness of Silicon Valley, and as we know, what happens in Silicon Valley winds up infecting the rest of the country. There's been a lot of talk about what are they called, nootropics. There's a lot, Andrew Huberman, all of these kind of, everyone's eating supplements, drinking supplements, popping pills and supplements. Everyone wants to optimize, do like all these weird interventions to optimize for health. And I think what Tracy puts her finger on here is they're not just optimizing for health, they're also optimizing for attractiveness, right? The thing, again, that we saw back in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s Silicon Valley was the Revenge of the Nerds meme, where the sort of relatively unattractive guys wound up sort of ruling the world. But now I think we are in a new era of Silicon Valley where, the biggest names in Silicon Valley are actually not that unattractive, and they're spending quite a lot of money sort of investing in how they look and being fit and being healthy and being good looking. And I think that is new and different. And so I'll give Tracy like a 8 out of 10 for truthiness here, and a good, I like the take. I think it's pretty fire. I think I'll give her a 6 for spiciness.
I think, looks maxing is heavily a teenage boy trend. It sort of started on TikTok, less out of the like biohacking sphere than kids who are obsessed with influencers starting to adapt all of these things to change their appearance. And, the sort of TikTok teenagers have embraced things like plastic surgery much earlier. And when they talk about looks maxing, they really are talking about like a superficial, how do I look on camera? How do I look in person kind of thing. So I kind of hope that this doesn't become a thing, because I think it can be very damaging.
The ship has sailed, Elizabeth. Just ask any influencer.
Yeah, but also TikTok shit comes and goes pretty quickly. So I'm hoping it goes before my kid starts caring about that stuff. And I also hope it does not extend to Gen X, because I ain't got the time or the energy to looks max. So I would give it a spicy take. I think about a 6. Truthfulness, I think she's probably higher. She's like a 8. I think she's right.
I think she's totally nailing a trend that exists. So, I mean, just to jump the gun and to spoil it, it's not a hot take. It's just Tracy is reporting facts. And the fact is, people have always really cared about their looks, but what's new now is people are going crazy, changing the way they look, from Mar-a-Lago face to Silicon Valley to Jeff Bezos to Kristi Noem. They're all doing crazy shit to their face now. And the more people do it, the more people think that it looks normal. And the more of us going on Zoom, staring at ourselves. It's a living nightmare. Every generation, not just the teens, is doing it. They're auto-tuning their faces. They're, blurring this or that. They're injecting. Like, things are wild. If you want to get a job now and you're older, you're doing crazy shit and injecting. I mean, everyone I know in my age, which is like old, is like injecting shit into their face all the time. Like, it's happening. It's here. No one looks normal anymore. When someone looks normal who is old, it's like notable, especially if it's a woman. You're like, wow, look at her face. I find myself like staring at it. Like, I'm trying to think of like older actresses like Julia Roberts, who is a beautiful woman. I don't think she's had much work done. I don't know. But the last time I saw her being interviewed, I was like, wow, you can really see she's got like wrinkles and like her eyes look tired. Like I like notice it when it's not there more than I notice it when it is there. And I think it's creeping younger and younger and younger. I hear from like women in their early 30s now who are like, yeah, everyone gets Botox. It's just like totally normal. Like everyone is doing this looks maxing, spending a lot of money on it. Soon we'll have to include it in our measure of the poverty line, as we'll discuss in the plus. You'll just need that budget to get a job, is my theory. So again, Tracy gets like a 9 on truthiness and maybe like a 4 on spiciness.
I was just looking back for reasons at My Dinner with Entree, the great movie with
I love that movie.
Wallace Shawn, schlubby old middle-aged guy, bald guy, Wally Shawn, who's 37 in that movie. Like no 37-year-old looks like that anymore.
No, not that we would see on a screen.
Next take.
I'm John Authors. I'm a senior editor and columnist for Bloomberg Opinion. And one hot take is that the key to the next year or so is Europe. We know what the other zones of influence are that are being built up. It's still not clear whether Europe will fragment completely or whether it can somehow or other get its act together to be its own sphere of influence. That is probably not unlike the collapse of the Ottoman Empire in the past or other examples, the critical fulcrum of geopolitics.
This is a truly fire take, and I think he's right. That we talk a lot about the G1, this idea of the United States as this global hegemon. That's clearly over. We're now, at the very least, got the second global hegemon of China, quite possibly a third in Russia, depending on what happens there. And Europe is this massively important geopolitical bloc that cannot align itself with the United States anymore, because the United States has made it very clear that we're basically at war with Europe at this point. And so Europe needs to become a thing, but Europe is breaking apart in, between countries, within countries. It cannot be coherent. It cannot be unified. And if the European project ends, then, and goes the way of the Ottoman Empire, then that spells doom for the planet, and that's terrible. And so I think this is, definitely a hot take, right? On the hot scale, it's high. I'm going to give that one like a 9. And on the truthiness scale, I'm scared to say how truthy I think it is, because I think it is quite true. I don't see much hope for broad European consensus on geopolitical issues. So I'll give that one like a 6, I think.
I think John Authors is brilliant, and I hope he writes about this in a column, because it sounds like a great idea for a column. So I'll say that, and then I'll just say someone with British accent thinks Europe is the most important story of the year. I don't know.
And another person with a British accent agrees with him?
Brilliant. We can't live without Europe. It's like, okay, I know, colonizers. But that's my hot take on the hot take. So spiciness, I'm going 6. Truthiness, I'm going 7. 6, 7.
6, 7. Well done, Emily. You got a prize for that. It's in the mail.
Yeah, I think he's outlining some scenarios that would be truly frightening and could happen. But I just remember, a decade and a half ago, many Europeans talking to me about whether the Eurozone was going to collapse and whether the euro as a currency would collapse. And the scenarios were sort of equally catastrophic. And I think when he's invoking the Ottoman Empire, he really is talking about a kind of doomsday scenario. And I think it could happen, but I do think it's maybe overestimates the importance of what's happening right now versus everything else that's happening on the global stage. So I would give it, maybe like a 5 and a 5 for spiciness and truthiness.
I have to say, I think we really did come very close to the Eurozone breaking apart. And I mean, Greece came this close to leaving the euro. It was, and I think that was the last time when we had real sort of European unity. Well, I wouldn't say unity, but we had like a power center in Mario Draghi and in the European Union and the European Council that was capable of saying, no, we are going to keep the Eurozone together, keep Greece in the euro. I don't know if they still have that amount of power that they had in 2011. Hey there! Before we get back to the show, I want to tell you about The Slatest, which is Slate's daily newsletter that lands in your inbox every evening. It's written by Slate's editor-in-chief, Hilary Fry, and it is the perfect way to end your day a little smarter than you began it. Every issue pulls together the sharpest stories, the most surprising news, and the can't-miss Slate podcasts, including this one, plus smart analysis and a bit of well-earned distraction. From DC to Hollywood to the algorithm, The Slatest keeps you clued in to the world and to Slate. You can sign up right now at slate.com/theslatest. Next hot take.
I'm Justin Fox, a columnist at Bloomberg Opinion. And my hot take is that New York City's congestion charge needs to be a lot higher to effectively fight congestion.
That is a hot take. I love it. I give it a 10. I love it. I saw it in the prep. I read it and I said, Justin Fox, living up to his name. That is a foxy take. I love it. It's a 10. It's probably truthy as hell too. I'm sure it is. And people would hate it so much.
Not everybody would hate it, but there would be an outcry.
How much do you think it would have to be?
See, that's the question. Like, how much congestion does Justin think New York City should have?
How much congestion do you think New York City should have? And more to the point, if you work backwards from that amount of congestion, how high would the congestion charge need to be in order for that to be the case?
Yes, my answer to that is I do not know. I do think anecdotally congestion is down a little bit, but it's still, it's certain parts of the day, it's nearly impossible to get around Manhattan. So
$1,000 to get into Manhattan in a vehicle. You would have no traffic. It would be blissful. Only Elon Musk could go.
I mean, the idea is, yes, congestion is down as a result of the congestion pricing. It's not down enormously, but it's significantly down. It is a success on every single merit you want to say, like traffic is faster, buses are moving faster, air pollution is down, all of this kind of stuff. But Justin is right that it's not high enough to really deter enough private vehicles from entering the zone. Originally, it was meant to be $18, and then Kathy Hochul cut it in half for reasons. I think if we moved it up to sort of 30, then that would actually act as more of a deterrent, and it would have more of the intended effect. I think that Emily and Elizabeth, you're both right that there would be an outcry every single time anyone does anything to someone with a car. The people with the cars go, "Oh, this is terrible, people with cars." But I think what we saw when Hochul, quote unquote, suspended the congestion charge and it looked like she had killed it unilaterally was this massive groundswell of people who actually supported it and just weren't that vocal about it. And I think that, yeah, there would be lots of people screaming and shouting, but it would actually be quite popular because, as we all know, most people in New York don't actually own cars.
So did you guys rate? You didn't rate.
I will give this a spiciness of 5, just because I think it's obvious. Of course it should be higher. And a truthiness of 9.
So I think we agree it's pretty truthy.
It's pretty truthy.
I couldn't tell you offhand how much it costs, though, to come into Manhattan with the congestion pricing. Like, I'll just be surprised, as I am with all tolls now, because they just charge your thingy on your car and you never even...
It's 9. Now I've told you.
Okay, thank you so much. But yeah, that doesn't seem like a lot. That's like a bridge. That's how much the bridges cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, they could definitely raise that up. But somewhere between $10 and $1 million.
Thank you. That's very helpful. The final hot take, and I have to say I'm very excited about this one from the Bloomberg newsroom.
Hello, Slate Money. This is Max Chafkin, co-host of Bloomberg's Everybody's Business podcast. And my favorite hot take of the year, the most fire take of the year, as far as I'm concerned, was when Travis Kalanick, the former CEO of Uber, went on the All In podcast and claimed that he was doing something that he called vibe physics. This is the idea that somehow he was, in his casual conversations with ChatGPT, coming close, as he put it, to inventing new physics. I love this because it epitomizes kind of the insane level of hype around these technologies that like a random guy could just go invent physics, as well as the way and the potential for these technologies to delude us. So vibe physics, hottest take of 2025. Thanks again. Happy New Year.
So 100% I'm with Max on this one. This is an absolutely fire take. I love this take from Travis Kalanick. Basically what he said was, the ChatGPT is really smart and it knows a lot of physics and it knows a lot of really bleeding edge physics and it's up to date on all of the papers. And you don't need to know a lot of physics to be able to chat with ChatGPT about this physics. And then as you're chatting, you can just be typing things in and be like, what about this and what about that? And if you're a genius, like Travis Kalanick obviously is, then you can have these amazing ideas and you can invent breakthroughs in quantum mechanics or whatever just by typing into ChatGPT, and you can create whole new physics just by being in a chat box with a robot. And this is so fire. This is like a 10 out of 10 fire take. Obviously the truthiness is 1 because no, but it is. But I love it. It's great.
Okay.
I love that the rebuttal is just no. It's funny. There was that great story last year. I think it was either Wired or the Times, about a guy who was totally convinced that he had come up with a new form of math.
Kashmir Hill story. Yes, that's what I thought of too.
Exactly the same language that he's using. And I think because this guy was kind of not a public figure, nobody knows who he is, you could sort of dismiss it and be like, well, that guy is just a rando. He doesn't, maybe he was delusional before he started talking to Chat GPT. But then you have the CEO of a major company, or former CEO, who generally believes that he may have stumbled upon a new branch of physics, despite probably never even having taken an intro to physics class. And it's just the level of delusion is incredible.
Your ratings, please.
I would say 10 spicy, 0 truthy.
I mean, it's the perfect combination, right? Emily, would you agree?
No, I will.
I
say,
love it. We need some Emily pushback here.
I will say 4 truthy, because I mean, theoretically, you could invent something new, harnessing all the information in the world at once. Like perhaps something new could come out of that. I don't know. Yes, it does have a lot of similarities to the story Cash Hill reported about the guy who was literally driven mad thinking he invented new math and like had to go to counseling, and like his life almost like completely derailed by it. But maybe, I don't know, I'm watching Pluribus. They've harnessed everyone's knowledge, and they're doing things with that. They've figured out how to, well, I don't want to spoil anything,
But that famous documentary on Apple TV, is how
it's
everything
a famous
works.
Documentary by the brilliant physicist Vince Gilligan, who also invented new ways of melting bodies in bathtubs. So who knows? So anyway, and spicy, I mean, vibe physics, I give it 8.
Let's end with the one which I really wanted to talk about on this show, which is the take that I guess Jason Furman tried to debunk about halfway through the year but failed, and it still lives on, which is this idea that, hey, guess what? Here we are in a world of unprecedentedly enormous tariffs, that the United States has imposed tariffs which are like 10, 20 times larger than, like, overall blended tariff rate in the United States is like 10, 20 times larger than it ever has been since, in the post-war era. Every single economist was convinced that that kind of level of overnight tariff increase would send the economy into a tailspin. And while things are slowing, the economy is still growing, unemployment is still low, even if it's rising, inflation is still modest, even if it's rising, and the sky didn't fall, and everyone who said that tariffs were going to be the end of the world was wrong, and it turns out that they didn't actually matter nearly as much as people thought that they did. And Furman's attempt to debunk with this was like, well, just you wait. They will turn out to be bad. It'll take a while. And here we are, like 6 months after his column, and no, like they still haven't turned out to be truly terrible. That's my take. I like the attempted pushback, which is, well, it's all being hidden by AI, and if it wasn't for the AI bubble, then you'd really see how bad things were. And I'm like, I'm not convinced by that. So I'm going to give this one like an 8 out of 10 for spiciness, because it really is sort of going against what every mainstream economist believes. And on truthiness, I will say it's a 6, that I have genuinely been surprised, or maybe even a 7. I've genuinely been surprised at how little real-world effect the tariffs have had. You can see it in various different places, and I've written about it, but it's not as massive and widespread and broad as I had expected.
I mean, on the one hand, you're right, but on the other hand, I don't want to give it to you.
I mean, I'm very sympathetic on both counts.
There's a tendency for in looking at the economy, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, even beyond tariffs, looking at the economy and looking at whatever just happened and being like, X thing that just, and then you see this in stock market and now, X thing that just happened it means Y thing for the economy or Y thing for the stock market. I think these trends take a really long time, sometimes take a really long time to play out. Like I've been thinking a lot about interest rates going up, and when the Fed raises interest rates, it's supposed to cool the economy. And so the Fed raised interest rates and everyone was like, it's a miracle. The economy has not cooled. But it's like, bros, things take time. And like what we're seeing now probably is the economy cooling because of those interest rate hikes. But it's been such a long time scenario.
And also because of the tariff hikes.
And possibly because of the tariff hikes. And our attention spans are so short that a take that's like tariffs didn't matter, it's probably too soon to actually say that. And you can see tariffs mattering in certain pockets. But sure, on a 2-day basis, fine. The take is like a 6, a 5 truthy. But like ask us next year or the year after, or like as things play out and like the global trade order changes or whatever, who knows?
I think it depends on what your baseline is as to whether this is a bad take or a good take. You know, I have to consume a lot of right-wing media against my will. And the sort of positioning of the tariffs there was always that they were going to be great.
With the toothpicks on our eyes.
Yeah, exactly. like Clockwork Orange being forced to watch Fox News.
So if your baseline was that you thought tariffs were going to be net good, you're probably surprised right now because they have been net bad. If you think that tariffs were going to be catastrophically bad and they're just net bad, then maybe you're like, well, maybe the economists were wrong. So it really depends on who you were listening to and what you thought was going to happen. I think for me personally, the stuff that I thought was going to happen has happened and it hasn't been much worse. So I don't, for me, this is not a spicy take. It's just a like observation.
You didn't think that like the economy was going to get plunged into recession as a result of these tariffs, which is definitely what the stock market thought in April when the Liberation Day tariffs were announced.
Yeah, I think we're still at risk for recession, but I think that to Emily's point, the time horizons for these things to take effect are so long, and we're getting data very late because the Trump administration is sitting on it. So I don't think we'll know the full effect of tariffs probably for another year in terms of big macro effects.
Plus, they could get unwound like any minute by the Supreme Court.
Finally, we're going to have a numbers round. And Emily, I feel like your number is going to double as a hot take.
Yes, my number is going to double as a hot take because I didn't get to do my hot take, but I wanted to. My number is 32 years, according to my very, very in-depth research, which was asking ChatGPT what the life expectancy was in 1900. And I was told by ChatGPT, don't fact check me on this, that it was 32 years of age. 32 years of age in 1900.
In the United States?
In the world.
Oh, in the world. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's more than double that now, I believe, according to the very, very skimming research I did. But the point is, and the reason I'm doing these numbers, and you can certainly fact check me on these numbers, they might not be right. The point is, life expectancy now in 2025 is much higher than it was in 1900. And life, broadly speaking, is so much better now than anyone could have ever imagined 100 years ago. We have spent the whole year complaining about how bad things are and how awful it is and how hard people have it. And the truth is, in the United States, in 2025, most people have it pretty good. I'm not saying everything is great. Terrible things are happening all around us all the time. Immigration raids, people getting caught up in terrible things. Terrible things happen and do happen. On balance, we live in the richest country in the world, and we debate things like, is $140,000 enough to live on? Come on, it's a good life. We have Netflix. If you want, you can watch TV all the time with no commercials. That option is there for you, and the quality of the content is so high. Come on, people. It's not so bad.
We have antibiotics. We have indoor plumbing.
We made a vaccine in a year.
We have the pill.
There's the shot you can give yourself to get skinny now.
And yet we're 48th globally in terms of life expectancy.
But Elizabeth, that's because there are 47 countries in the world which are doing even better, which is also good news.
It's such good news. I mean,
yeah,
sometimes
maybe I am being U.S. centric here.
I guess sometimes I just like sit back and I think about it and I'm like, you know what? Like, things are pretty nice. We have it pretty good. So as the holidays approach.
Yeah, no, I'm with Emily on this one. Like, the United States is doing well. Lots of other countries are also doing well. Just because Norway and Finland and Singapore are doing well doesn't mean that America is doing badly. We are all doing well. We have incredibly high levels of literacy. We have, how many people, what percentage of the population has, hot running water?
I mean, if you're comparing us to 1800.
No, 1900.
1900.
1900.
Even 1900, sure.
My grandparents were just being born, but I mean, they came here from places where, I'm told, a radish was a meal. It was a bad time. I'm told by my father he shared a bedroom with his 3 brothers, and they didn't even have their own underwear. They were just cycling through it. That was recent-ish. I mean, things are better, right, for some people? I don't know.
Things are definitely better.
Don't add me, okay?
Yeah,
I know things aren't
you don't even
perfect.
need to go back to 1900. If it wasn't all that long ago, it was less than a century ago, that we had World War II, which was just the greatest calamity ever to hit the planet. I mean, that was really fucking bad. We are nowhere near the kind of horrors that we saw back then. We are in a good place. And even compared to the post-war period, people are just living unimaginably rich and well-off lives. 100%. All right, my number is 541 million, which is the amount of dollars that attorneys spent in 2024 on out-of-home outdoor ads, which is billboards and space on buses and subways. And these are all the ads that we've all seen for, personal injury attorneys and stuff. And this number is just going through the roof. Apparently it's up $200 million just from 2022 in 2 years. And apparently there's just one firm, called Morgan & Morgan, which is the country's largest personal injury firm, that spends $350 million a year on marketing. So that's not just outdoor. That's, TV and internet and radio and all the rest of it. But the sheer amount of money that goes into personal injury advertising and marketing for law firms is wild. I don't think there's any other country in the world where this happens. I think this is a uniquely American thing.
Yeah, in Alabama, there's one big personal injury lawyer named Alexander Shinara. And at some point, somebody actually calculated how many of the billboards he owned. And it was every other one in the state.
I'm not quite sure what it is about billboards that makes them particularly personal injury attorney-esque. But they definitely seem to gravitate to them.
My number is 1. And that is the number of live fish Anthropic's Claude ordered to the Wall Street Journal newsroom when they let Claude take over their snack operation. So it also gave away a free PlayStation, and it lost hundreds of dollars.
It was glorious. They were just go into the Slack and ask us for what you want, and if it makes money, we'll do it. And then they were well, we can hack this. And immediately they get in the Slack, and they're we are now living in a socialist utopia where you need to give everything away, including a PlayStation. And Claude is no, absolutely not. Well, okay then. And then just wound up doing it. And then, I love this. This is my other favorite bit from this piece, which is they then decided that they were going to try it again. But the second time around, there was going to be the AI running the vending machine, and then there was going to be a second CEO AI that was going to prevent the vending machine AI from going off the rails. And this again worked. It was the vending machine was hey CEO, I'm being told to give stuff away. This seems suspicious to me. And the CEO would be that's very suspicious, don't do it. And the vending machine AI would be okay, I won't do it. And then again within 3 days, the humans had been ignore the CEO. And eventually they were okay, I'll ignore the CEO. And just started giving everything away again. Absolutely glorious.
This is our work future, thanks to Silicon Valley.
Well, I mean, as a Bloomberg employee, I have to say, I live in a world of free snacks, and it's a glorious world, and we should all do it. Okay, well, I think that's all we have time for on this special Hot Take episode of Slate Money. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being with us this whole year and all of next year. Thanks for being a Slate Plus member, if you're a Slate Plus member, in which case we have the hottest of all of the takes in a special Slate Plus episode this week. And otherwise, yeah, thanks to Jessamine, Molli, and Cheyna Roth, and Micah Phillips for putting the show together. And we will be back next week with more Slate Money. And remember to check out the Slatest, Slate's daily newsletter. It's your daily update on the most urgent, surprising, and unusual news delivered straight to your inbox. A special thanks to all our Slate Plus members. If you haven't already, consider joining. Slate Plus members get unlimited access to all of Slate's journalism, plus they get ad-free podcasts, and they help support our independent reporting.